So, James, during Singapore, it's Monday morning UK time. Mikel Arteta spoke earlier on. So, what did he have to say? It's his first time he's really spoken since the end of last season, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of picking up the baton, isn't it, from last season? These sort of first press conferences. There are a few topics covered in terms of new signings. Obviously, they've got 5 players in. Batshuayis not here. But there's a lot of sort of focus on Martin Zubimendi at the moment. It's obviously a bit of a coup to get him over the line. Liverpool very keen on him. Manchester City looked at him as well. So the fact that they've got him in, I think there's sort of high hopes for him. Obviously having a full pre-season. Madueke's not here because he's been involved in the Club World Cup. But Arteta talked well about the new signings and basically the idea that they can go one better this season, which is kind of the message that he's obviously been telling for the last couple of years. They finished second in the Premier League 3 years in a row now. And I mean, I sort of said to him, how much of your job is psychological as much as anything, because it's difficult, I think, for this group, maybe for them to feel that they aren't missing their opportunity, that, clubs all around them are winning trophies. Liverpool obviously won the league, but also teams that finished below them. Chelsea have ended the season with 2 trophies. Even Tottenham won, obviously, the Europa League. So, everybody around them's kind of winning the silverware. They're making the progress, but they don't have anything to show for it since the 2020 FA Cup. So he addressed that a little bit. He was in good spirits, I have to say, generally. I think he seems to be quite happy with the business they've done, and also hinting at some of the business to follow, which obviously would be Viktor Gyökeres and getting that deal over the line and finally getting him part of the squad.
I mean, we've been on these tours many times over the years, and the plans are great, but things happen. There's always a saga about a sign that hasn't been done, that the managers want it to be done. You've got the director of football back in the UK, etc., etc. Is that where we're at with Gykeres, or do you think it's closer than that?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. You're right about the sort of planning can go out the window. I mean, there was a really heavy kind of biblical rainstorm here this morning, which forced Arsenal to cancel training. So they weren't able to train as they would have liked to have done. I think they're going to try and train later today, although we're not sort of 100% on that. Actually, the club haven't made that clear. But either way, sort of not ideal preparation with a game against AC Milan in a couple of days' time. On Gyökeres, I think it's very close. The issue, really, they've agreed an initial fee, and that's around about 63 million euros. And then there's a 10 million euros set of add-ons, and the add-ons are the problem because Sporting want to make them quite attainable, obviously, because the easier they are triggered, the more money they get, whereas Arsenal want to kind of make them a little bit harder to kind of activate. So I think there's still some ground to cover on that. However, there are positive noises about him coming out at some point on the tour. They're here in Singapore for about a week. They then go to Hong Kong for 4 days before I think it's the 1st of August, they fly back. So there is a little bit of time out here. And I think the expectation is that he would be able to join for some portion of this trip, but they've got to get that final breakthrough with Sporting first.
Well, as we know, in the summer, fans get really annoyed when clubs don't do business. They get really excited when a player does come in, probably overexcited at times. But from Arsenal's perspective, once they get Gyökeres in, they've had a great summer. They've done all their priorities. They've probably got more players than people expected. So there really are no excuses if they get Gyökeres over the line. Everything they needed, they got. So is this the year? Is this the year that they finally get the title over the line?
Well, that's the $1 million question, isn't it? I still feel that other teams are probably ahead of them. Because I think that you're right. If Gyökeres is done, and the expectation is that it will be, then you look at that front three, assuming everybody's fit, and you're talking about Gyökeres playing through the middle, Saka on one side, and probably Madueke on the other. Although I think as this tour goes on, we're going to try and learn a little bit more about exactly what the plan is for Madueke. I mean, obviously, he primarily played on the right, cutting in from that position, which is exactly what Saka does. But I don't think Arsenal are in a position to pay 52 million for an understudy for their best outfield player. So I think he's likely to start, in which case that's a big ask of 2 of your front 3 sort of coming in and gelling straight away to the extent that you can win a Premier League title. Obviously, Madueke knows the league, and Gyökeres has played in England before, but the fact of the matter is that's a big ask, especially when you consider that Zubimendi is going to operate as the six, and he'll be the sort of single pivot in this team, and that's a huge responsibility for him coming to a new league again. Obviously, acclimatising to his new teammates as well. So, it could all click, it could all come together, and they're already sort of talking behind the scenes here about how important squad depth and availability is. We know Arsenal had a lot of injury problems last season. That was a key part of why they weren't able to keep pace with Liverpool. So I think, if they can keep their players fit and are able to rotate at a higher level, I think Arteta is going to talk a lot about that over the next sort of 10 days, 2 weeks. This idea that, there shouldn't be such a big drop-off between the sort of first 11 and the sort of supporting cast. So, look, I mean, they're you would think on paper they're as best places they've ever been under Arteta to go and win the league. I still feel they've just got a little bit to prove.
Is Arteta happy to be in Singapore and Hong Kong? Because I know that in the past clubs have looked at trips to Southeast Asia. It's great for the commercial brand. There's many more fans in the Far East in the US, but it's a lot further away, so travelling is a bit of an issue. The climate is, as you found out today, unpredictable. A lot of clubs tend to sporadically go to the Far East because that's where it's harder to prepare. And we know that Arteta is a bit of a control freak. Is it a problem for him to be over there, or has he embraced it?
Well, I think the answer I'll give you today might be different to the answer at the end of the tour, because he was in very good spirits today. But we've only been here 24 hours, not even that when we saw him. So, I think they'd rather be in America, because we all know, obviously, they have American owners and they have a base in LA that really suits them. The Rams, the Cronkies obviously own the Rams, the LA Rams as well. They've got a setup out there, which is a training base, which is about an hour outside of LA, and it's like a home from home for Arsenal. And they've been there the last few years. They like the relative it's relatively secluded because of where it is. It's so far out of LA that I think they feel they can sort of crack on there. And yes, obviously they've got to do various commercial activities when they're in America, but they can sort of dip in and out of it. Whereas I think here it's quite suffocating. It's obviously, Singapore seems like not been here before, but seems like a fabulous city. But it is a city. They're staying in town. They sort of can't really get away from it. I know, having spoken to a few people at the club the last couple of days, that their commercial activity, their schedule is crazy. It's really, really busy for the first 2 or 3 days that they're here. They've got a lot of sponsorship activation to fulfill, a lot of media duties on top of that as well. So it is quite an intense period for them. But I think Arteta's long enough in the tooth to know that you can't go to America every year. They have to sort of spread it around a bit. They haven't been here for 7 years. And they were overdue a trip to this part of the world. So, as long as I think the weather doesn't disrupt their training plans too much more going on from here, I think he'd be relatively comfortable with it.